So your first appointment as the Queensland Open men's coach, how does this appointment rate in terms of your career highlights?
Oh, I think it'll be up there. I was thinking on the drive down from the Sunshine Coast that I played for Queensland in 1999, made my debut for Men's Open, and prior to that, in the mid 90s, was a goal of mine was just to simply play for Queensland if I could, and things have taken off a little bit from there. And to coach the Men's Open team, which was one of my first goals, is yeah, it's going to rate quite highly.
And what will you bring to the team, in terms of being your first time? Are there things that you necessarily want to change or, put your own spin on things? How will you approach that?
Yeah, I think it'd be very naive and foolish to go in and change absolutely everything. Queensland teams in State of Origin have been quite competitive in most series. The last three series aren't much different from that. There's only been the odd touchdown that separated both teams. So a number of players would still hold their spots, providing their form's up to scratch. But I think there's enough good young talent coming through. So I'll definitely tweak a couple of things and adjust things to suit my sort of coaching style. But yeah, we'll see. I'll keep some surprises up for next year.
So you've obviously had a lot of success in recent times with the Cowboys in the Elite Eight series. How do you see, what you've learnt during that time, and how will you sort of transfer that over to the Queensland team?
Yeah, the Elite Eight series is a little bit different to State of Origin because it's played over 4 days, and to get to the final, that's your ninth game, whereas the State of Origin, you only play over 2 days and it's 3 games. So I think for the Cowboys, our success has been we've got a good culture amongst the team, but the fitness of the boys has certainly been something that's played in our favour. The boys don't mind working off the park, and they're quite competitive amongst themselves, let alone against opposition. So for the Origin, it'll be we'll learn from obviously the players that we've played against before when they represent their own permits. But for us, we'll have to do a bit of homework, have a bit of a game plan in terms of what we want to attack. But they've got some big name players that we need to obviously make sure they don't get too much free time to exploit us. But yeah, I think we'll be okay. The coaching staff that New South Wales may put together will be one that we'll probably know a little bit about ourselves in terms of how they like to coach. A lot of the players that form their core group will still be there, so they'll bring a few new things to the table. But in terms of their habits and what their go-to plays are, I think we can sort of plan towards that. The last series was dominated by a few plays in particular at key moments, so we'll certainly look to make sure we don't have that same sort of weakness when it comes to our defensive approach. But yeah, I think we've got to be prepared as best we can, knowing on what they'll possibly put on the park. And we might have a few new faces in there, can change a few things as well to suit us. Yeah, I think for the Queensland boys, a few of them have played a number of series. So for them, it's, they've come close a number of times. So we've only won one out of the last three State of Origin series in the men's. So that'll mean that for those boys that have been a part of it before, they'll want to try and turn those statistics around, those figures. And for the boys that are coming through that may have come through the 20s or maybe through the mixed opens, both of them have been very successful, where the numbers are in a Queensland favour. So our 20 boys have been successful for the last few series. In the mixed open, we've done the same. So, a few of those successes that they've had in mixed and 20s, we'd like to share that through the men's. I guess it's a little bit unique being someone who's played for the Queensland men's team before and now coaching to bring in what it was like when I was coming through, not too many years ago, but late 90s at the time. I think some players don't know what the journey was like back then, what the origin was like. So I think maybe bring some older players back to maybe share their experiences. Maybe they can be involved in some of our camp and our campaign to see, maybe some little tips that they can give. So I think they need to recognise where the game's at now, but obviously where it started many years ago. The balance for a Queensland side's critical in terms of having players that can do their job. We don't need a team of ball players and people who can finish touchdowns. We need a lot of workers. So I think anyone who's put on a Queensland jersey before, whether it be netball, whether it be rugby league or touch football, it's really important that you've got to take care of your one percenters. You're there because you've got talent and you can play, and if they're fortunate enough to wear their own jersey, just to do the things at a bit faster pace, look after the little things and just make sure our key players have the ball in those key moments. The State of Origin will be late next year, so between then there'll be another Elite Eight series. There's some school state competitions. There'll be nationals for 15s and 18s, which I'll be a part of the 18 series this year as well. It'll mean that there's a Trans-Tasman in the next few weeks, so there's plenty of tournaments that I'll be involved in, and a number of players that could wear the maroon jersey next year are a part of those different events as well. So it'll mean that any tournaments that are played, I'll be there along with a number of other people to TID and see who's running and how well people are playing. So we'll look to have a bit of a squad initially, and then once we have a squad, we'll look to possibly have a training weekend where people can compete against certain players in the squad to see who's fortunate enough to make that final 14 come late next year for the Origin series.
I know it's early to sort of anticipate the makings of your team, but do you expect there might be some surprises, some new faces?
I think, yeah, there'd have to be some new faces. The State of Origin series is only every 2 years. So being every 2 years, there's a lot of young ones that have come through the 20s or the mixed that are playing really well. And I think the boys who may be coming towards their end of their career need to make sure they're fit and playing some decent football, because there's good depth coming through Queensland, and I need to make sure that we've got the best 14 on the park, regardless of age and experience. It'll be players who I think can do the job for our state.